The MLB has been a sports league hard set in tradition dating all the way back to the early 1900s. But in recent years, a new wave of progressive thinking and electric talent has pushed to modernize the game in order to capture a larger audience and get back to the glory days where baseball was truly America's pastime. Now, that is easier said than done with Americans' attention spans being at an all-time low and the sport of baseball being ripe with downtime, but there has definitely been a shift. And that was reinforced this offseason with the MLB announcing it would be implementing some game-altering rules starting this year. So there are 4 rules that I want to cover in this video that I'll be listing off in order of impact on the game that we all know and love. And coming in at number 1, bigger bases. Now this one's pretty straightforward. Bases are going from 15 to 18 inches squared. Now this is obviously to reduce the risk of injury to the players. And yes, this does in fact shorten the base path by about 3 to 4.5 inches. But on the flip side, the throw to first is technically about 3 inches shorter as well. So the differences should even each other out. But for whatever reason, if anyone's concerned about this shortened base path, I do recommend this article that goes a lot more in depth. And I don't have much more to say about that, so let's go to number 2. No defensive shifts. And this has been a growing theme in the MLB for a long time. For those that don't know, based off analytics, infielders and outfielders would shift their position in the field based on the batter and their likelihood to hit the ball in a certain direction. And for the most part, this has been greatly effective for the defensive team. However, according to MLB executives and fans alike, this is not what's best for the sport. And I have to say, I agree with them. I want more hits, more balls in play, more scoring, more displays of athleticism, just more action in general. And this rule was instituted because on-base percentage from singles was the lowest it's ever been since 1968. And no doubt defensive shifts played a huge role in this. That and the increased rate of strikeouts and home runs. And while defensive shifts are very effective, it's not the most riveting thing to watch on TV. And the sport doesn't want more home runs and more strikeouts. It wants more balls and plays, more inside the park home runs, triples, doubles, chaos for lack of a better term. And this rule should do just that, more hits, more base runners, which honestly should be awesome to watch going forward. I was never a big fan of the shift anyways. I get the strategy behind it, but if we're talking tradition, let's just go back to the way the sport was meant to be played. And that brings us to number 3, the new pickoff rule. And I put that in air quotes because this rule does not only apply to pickoffs, but anytime the pitcher steps foot off the rubber. Basically, the pitcher is allowed 2 disengagements per plate appearance. A disengagement being just a step off, a pickoff attempt, anything like that. For example, if a pitcher attempts to pick off a runner at first base twice, he can no longer step his foot off the rubber without being charged with a balk and the runners advancing. And this rule can get pretty interesting pretty fast. There's the obvious advantage that the runner can take off after the second disengagement with more confidence that he won't be thrown out by the pitcher. However, there is a wrinkle in this rule. If the pitcher attempts a third pickoff and is successful, then the runner's out. So the possibility of a throwover is never totally out of the question, although very unlikely. And this rule honestly excites me more than any of the other ones because the stolen base is one of the most exciting plays in baseball and we need more of it. The stolen base percentage in 2022 was 0.51, basically meaning for every 2 games you went to, you saw 1 stolen base. And that's down from a high in the 80s and 90s of 0.75. And one of the best base stealers this game has ever seen, Rajai Davis, was quoted saying, "When I came up, players were getting paid for stolen bases. That anticipation was a great thing. That brings great energy to the ballpark." And obviously I agree. Hopefully as the season progresses, we see more action on the base paths. Now, the last and by far most controversial rule is the pitch clock. In a nutshell, pitchers have 15 seconds to throw the ball and 20 seconds if there's runners on base. Batters have to be in the box and ready with 8 seconds remaining on the clock. And a batter can call for time only once per plate appearance. Now, this was one of the rules that I had mixed emotions about, as I'm sure a lot of people did. First, I love this for the regular season. After the MLB tested this rule out in the minor leagues, it was shown to bring the game time down by almost 30 minutes, which is great, less downtime and more action. season. I mean, this is a 162 game season. We can trim the fat a little bit. However, I am skeptical about how this will impact the playoffs. These intense, high leverage situations where every drawn out second just adds to the tension in the stadium or at home. And I worry that speeding up these moments for the players will take away from that build up and the overall weight of the moment. Pitcher Garrett Cole expressed his opinion saying, "I love the drama in those moments, that's for sure. But I like 2 hours and 33 minutes on opening day." My thought is, how about a happy medium where the pitch clock applies to only the regular season? I mean, the MLB already instituted the runner on second base in overtime for the regular season only. Why not this one too? Well, Commissioner Rob Manfred shared this statement on the Rich Eisen show. "Our feet are not in stone with respect to the pitch clock. We want to see it in regular season games, particularly in situations that are high leverage. We will talk about what should happen in these situations, and we certainly have the capacity to make adjustments on the fly during the course of the season. And for now, we really will have to just see how it plays out during the course of the season." Although we do have some data from opening weekend thanks to Jeff Passan on Twitter. Through 50 games, the time of the game is down by almost half an hour, batting averages are up, stolen bases have almost doubled, and pitch clock violations are less than 1 a game. So early on, it seems like the rules are working just as intended, to inject more action and excitement into this game, and also to put baseball back on the map. It's still very early, but I'm really excited to see where the game goes from here. So that's about all I got. Let me know in the comments what you think, and peace.